Before we start this video, I need to make one thing clear. Glock makes simple and reliable handguns. It does not matter what kind of handgun you're looking for. Chances are that Glock has it. Plus, there are aftermarket products to further optimize your Glock. That said, does that mean you should always buy a Glock? No. The manufacturer makes good pistols, but they're not for everybody. Here are some reasons why some people do not get a Glock. Ergonomics. Let's start with the grip. It's blocky. In fact, the entire gun is blocky, which is the design Glock chose for every Glock they made. Glocks are not very comfortable to hold. The manufacturer was aware of this, and they tried to do finger grooves, but they botched it so badly that people wanted the original blocky grip back. The fact that Glock fails to adopt new technology because they do it so half-heartedly is apparently the running theme. It's not just the grip that's bad, there's also the lack of an undercut and the terrible grip angle. People just do not like the overall ergonomics. Now, it is possible to get used to the suboptimal ergonomics if you spend enough time with it, but it's just not practical for those who own any other gun besides a Glock and want to switch between them. You can fire most pistols interchangeably without too much of an issue, but the Glock is an outlier. Despite this, Glock refuses to change their design, probably because research and development would cut into their profit. Fans. Glock has a cult-like following. To be fair, not all Glock owners are like that, and there are always those die-hard fans in every community. What makes the Glock different is the fact that this extreme crowd is particularly large. These people will vehemently defend the Glock with their life. Maybe you've not encountered these people before, but when you do, you'll learn that they think the Glock is some sort of religion. And in this cult, there's one rule. Glocks are tools. Of course, they are more than just a tool. Why? Because the same people would spend over $500 upgrading their Glocks, all 20 of them, that they probably have sitting in their gun safe. If it's just a tool, that they do not need more than one Glock, nor do they need to spend about as much money on upgrades as they did on buying the gun in the first place. Some will also tell you that they got a Glock because it's a Glock, and it works. That is true to some extent. Yes, Glocks are reliable, but they do not deliver the best performance compared to other pistols on the market. If I have to summarize Glocks in a single sentence, it's this. Glocks are some of the most exceptionally average handguns money can buy. They're mediocre. To get much of anything from a Glock, you need to change out pretty much everything except the frame. It is reliable and affordable, but that is about it. It's nothing special. If anything, the fact that the manufacturer does not respond well to market demand should be a red flag. Unfortunately, these flaws do not seem to exist for Glock fanboys, so there's no point in trying to get this fact across. Now, to be fair, Glock did make polymer frame striker-fired pistols mainstream nowadays, so they at least deserve the credit for that. Still, their products are far from perfect. This could be said for every gun manufacturer, but the people defending Glock are on a whole other level when it comes to their reverence of this brand. Aesthetics. Any Glock you come across falls behind in the aesthetics department. It is bland, featureless, and outright boring. Some people prefer this look, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. They probably want a handgun that shoots, like a tool. They do not care if the gun lacks any color or style. Do not mistake these people with the Glock fanboys. Some people just literally do not care how their guns look as long as it shoots reliably. Glocks are minimalistic by design. If you want a bit of flair to your firearm, any other handgun on the market is better. Guns from Heckler & Koch, Sig Sauer, FN, etc. look far better. While you should not let aesthetics be the number one factor when considering which gun to purchase, we have to acknowledge that Glocks are just an eyesore. They do not come with creative designs that make their guns pop out. A gun with classic aesthetics, with the wooden grip and all that, can shoot just as well as a Glock. That said, everybody can admire a fine gun with a classic look to it. The look of a gun is not the biggest factor when you're shopping for a gun, but it certainly is a factor. You would certainly consider fuel economy when purchasing a car, but you probably wouldn't buy an ugly car. The same goes for your gun. Features. A lot of the time when you ask Glock owners what they do when they get a new Glock, they'll tell you that they would change out the plastic polymer sights, then possibly every other part such as the grip, slide, etc. Now, this does highlight the fact that Glocks are highly customizable. It also brings to light the fact that they have to go through all of that just to get the best experience with a Glock. A lot of people certainly are not going to be happy if they buy a car and then have to swap out the tires, the engine, and the bumper just to enjoy driving it. Glock takes their sweet time adopting new technology as well. It usually takes them a few years before they start doing something new, and even then, they usually do not put enough effort into making it work. So their customers become frustrated and ask them to return to the same old design. It is also worth mentioning here that Glocks do not have an external safety. This is a blessing and a curse. For one, having external safety might be equivalent to having another thing to go wrong in a firefight. For a Glock, you just need to point and shoot. That said, there are many gun owners who want an external safety. The reason is in the name. They want an external safety to ensure that their gun is safe. It's another layer to stopping a negligent discharge. In theory, the little lever there can also stop someone from using your gun against you if they do not know how to operate one. There are also some people who want to carry their gun cocked and locked. So this necessitates the presence of an external safety, since a gust of wind on the trigger can send some lead flying in the wrong direction. Price. Glocks are overpriced. To be fair, their prices are in the medium range, which seems fair at a glance. But when you look at how they manufacture their guns, you start to see why they're overpriced. Glock pretty much optimized every aspect of the manufacturing process. They use plastic for the frame, which keeps both the cost and weight down. Other than that, how can you tell the difference from one Glock to the next? Unless they're placed close to each other, you probably cannot. They look very similar. There are no models that stick out from the rest. That means Glock can get away with using very similar molds. They do not have different platforms, nor do they try anything new. Glock is known for keeping the manufacturing as cheap and consistent as possible. They also focus on the reusability of parts, meaning that they never have to invest in new equipment or tooling to produce different guns. What that means is that Glock can bring manufacturing costs way down. And yet this does not reflect in the price tag. Again, Glocks are not expensive by any means, but they could be much more affordable. Right now, the gap between manufacturing costs and retail price translates into profit margin, and it's a pretty large gap. And there you have it, folks. These are some reasons why I think Glocks are not as great as people say. Of course, if you happen to own a Glock, do not let this video give your buyers remorse. Glocks are reliable and affordable handguns. They're not that bad by any means. They're average. If you enjoy shooting a Glock, then more power to you. At the end of the day, what matters the most is owning a gun that you can shoot effectively while also enjoying the experience in the process. If it works for you and you like the gun, ignore what other people say about your gun. Their opinions do not matter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.